What if I told you that everything you've been taught about attraction is wrong? That all the advice, all the tricks, all the how to impress her strategies, none of it actually works the way you think it does. Most men spend their entire lives chasing attention, validation, and approval, believing that if they just dress better, say the right words, or act a certain way, women will magically fall for them. But the truth is far more shocking, far deeper, and far more powerful than anything you've ever heard. Women are not drawn to your looks, your money, or even your confidence alone. They are drawn to something invisible, something almost impossible to define, but you will feel it immediately when it is present. It's a combination of depth, presence, and evolution. It's the energy that comes from a man who has faced life, who has grown through pain, who has become unshakably himself. And yet, quietly, effortlessly magnetic. Most men never understand this. Most men never learn it. That's why they fail while older. Wiser men attract attention without even trying. By the end of this video, you will see attraction in a completely new light. You will discover why girls are drawn to men who don't chase them, who don't compete, who are still becoming, who carry themselves with depth and calm authority. And you'll realize that this isn't about tricks or tactics. It's about transforming yourself from the inside out. Once you understand this, everything changes. Your presence changes, your energy changes, and the way people respond to you changes forever. Stay with me until the very end, because what you're about to hear is not just advice. It's a truth that will alter how you see yourself, how you see relationships, and how the world sees you. This isn't a video you watch for entertainment. This is a video you watch to change your life. Let's start with a truth that most men never hear, and yet it is the foundation of why some older men become magnetic without effort. Girls are drawn to men who do not need them. It sounds simple, almost too simple to be shocking. But that simplicity is where the power lies. Most men go through life thinking attraction is about looks, charm, or being flashy. They believe that if they just work harder, say the right words, or show more attention, they will become irresistible. But the reality is the opposite. The men who are deeply magnetic are the ones who live their lives fully, independent of the approval or presence of others, and this independence is something women perceive immediately, sometimes even subconsciously. When a man is emotionally stable, when he does not waver in self-worth based on someone else's reaction, he exudes a type of confidence that is far deeper than bravado. This is not about arrogance or dominance. It is about a calm certainty that arises from knowing oneself, from having faced life's challenges and come through without losing integrity or composure. Younger men often project an image of confidence that is fragile, a veneer that cracks under scrutiny or disappointment. Women sense this fragility, even if it is not spoken aloud. Emotional stability is the silent language of attraction, the signal that says, "I am whole on my own, and you are welcome to join me, but I will not crumble without you." Independence is inseparable from this stability. It is not simply about financial success or social status, though those can be components. It is about the inner life, the ability to be at peace with solitude, to enjoy your own company, to pursue your passions and ambitions without needing external validation. A man who is truly independent does not chase attention. He does not overcompensate through social posturing or empty gestures. Instead, he moves with a quiet authority, a presence that commands notice without demanding it. This is magnetic because it contrasts so sharply with the desperation most people display in their interactions, the constant need for validation that is almost palpable in younger men. Think about it psychologically. Human beings, women included, are hardwired to detect neediness. It triggers an instinctive response when someone is desperate for attention, when their sense of worth depends on others. It creates tension, unease, and ultimately a sense of instability. Attraction is not simply about admiration. It is about safety. It is about resonance. It is about energy. Women are drawn to men whose energy communicates stability, independence, and the capacity to self-contain. A man who embodies these qualities is not trying to manipulate. He is simply living authentically, and authenticity has an undeniable pull. This principle extends into every aspect of life. Consider the way such men interact in conversation. They do not over-explain. They do not fluster themselves to fill silence. Their presence alone is enough to communicate depth. When a man has cultivated his independence, he does not need to seek approval in the form of smiles, nods, or validation. He can engage fully, speak freely, and exist fully without the subtle undertone of desperation that undermines connection. This creates intrigue, not because he is mysterious for the sake of mystery, but because he is rooted, grounded, and complete within himself. Independence also manifests in decision-making and boundaries. A man who does not bend to others' whims, who has clear values, priorities, and standards, communicates strength without aggression. Women are drawn to this because it signals self-respect and the ability to hold one's space in the world. Boundaries are magnetic. They create a structure in which connection becomes meaningful because it is chosen, not demanded. When a man operates from neediness, his lack of boundaries creates chaos, confusion, and ultimately disinterest. When he operates from self-possession, his boundaries create clarity, security, and fascination. There is a philosophical dimension to this as well. Attraction rooted in independence is not transactional, it is existential. It communicates a fundamental truth that a man's value is not dependent on external circumstances. He is resilient, adaptable, and whole. This is why women are unconsciously drawn to it. It resonates with their own search for emotional alignment and security. A woman does not want a man to complete her. She wants a man who is complete, whose presence allows her to engage fully without the burden of filling gaps or compensating for instability. In other words, independence in a man offers freedom and security simultaneously, and that combination is intoxicating. To embody this principle, a man must first understand himself deeply. He must confront his fears, his insecurities, his emotional patterns. He must face rejection, failure, and loss, not as events to be avoided or resented, but as teachers that shape resilience. Emotional stability and independence are cultivated through experience, reflection, and conscious self-mastery. It is not something that can be faked for effect. The world can see through superficial confidence. It is the lived, internalized self-possession that radiates outward, effortlessly in tone, posture, speech, and action. And here is the most critical element that most men overlook. Independence does not mean isolation or emotional distance. It means being secure enough in yourself to connect fully without dependency. It means being capable of love, attention, and presence because it is a choice, not a necessity. It means that the connections you cultivate, the women you attract, are drawn to you not because of your need, but because of your essence. This creates attraction that is both profound and lasting because it is rooted in authenticity, not strategy. The world is full of men chasing attention, approval, and validation, thinking it will make them attractive. But real magnetism comes from being rooted in your own value. It comes from the calm certainty that you do not need to prove yourself to anyone. This is the energy that women feel even before a single word is spoken. It is the presence that pulls them in without effort, the stability that creates intrigue, the independence that communicates strength. So, if you take one thing from this, let it be this: cultivate emotional stability, embrace your independence, and own your presence. Stop seeking validation. Stop trying to impress. Stand firmly in your worth. Live fully in your own life. Because when you do, the world begins to respond differently, connections deepen, attention follows naturally, desire becomes effortless. And remember this: the most magnetic men are not those who chase. They are those who have built a life so complete, so whole, that anyone who joins it does so willingly, not because it is needed, but because it resonates. This is power. This is presence. This is the first key to drawing people in deeply, effortlessly, and irreversibly. Let's dive into something most people never really understand about attraction. It isn't about charm, flashy gestures, or even what you say. Attraction is a resonance, an energy that comes from how a man has lived his life, how he has faced challenges, and how he carries the weight of his experiences. This is why girls are deeply drawn to men who possess depth, men who have confronted failure, disappointment, and loss, and emerged not broken but refined. Depth is invisible at first glance, but it is sensed immediately. It is something you feel before you hear a word. It is a vibration that tells a woman, consciously or subconsciously, that here is someone who has lived fully, someone who can weather storms and still stand grounded. Life is not gentle, and the truth is, the men who become magnetic are not the ones who have had everything handed to them. They are the ones who have faced adversity, who have stumbled and fallen, who have had to rebuild themselves from the ground up. Every scar, every failure, every disappointment becomes a building block of presence. These experiences create a subtle authority, a quiet power, and a depth of understanding that cannot be faked. Women sense this depth because it communicates stability and resilience in a way words never could. It whispers, "This man has endured, he has faced life and its chaos, and yet here he is, whole." Consider the psychology behind this. When a woman meets a man with depth, she perceives not only strength, but insight. Depth communicates that he can handle complexity, that he understands nuance, that he sees the world not in black and white, but in its full spectrum. Life experience teaches empathy, patience, and emotional intelligence, qualities that younger men often lack. When a man has been through challenges, when he has faced loss, heartbreak, or failure, he becomes attuned to the fragility and complexity of human experience. This attunement is magnetic because it signals emotional competence. Women instinctively know that someone who has lived fully and reflected deeply will be capable of navigating the emotional intricacies of a relationship. Depth is also about authenticity. A man who has confronted life's challenges cannot pretend. He cannot rely on superficial charm, empty promises, or constructed personas. Depth forces authenticity because there is nowhere to hide from experience. When a man has faced his shadow, the parts of himself he might have wanted to ignore, he becomes whole in a way that radiates outward. He does not need to perform masculinity, confidence, or charm because he embodies them naturally. This authenticity is irresistible. It is not about trying to impress, it is about existing fully, entirely, and honestly. There is also a philosophical aspect to this. Life experience teaches perspective. A man who has faced failure knows what truly matters and what is trivial. He is not easily shaken by drama or superficial conflicts. He understands that time is finite and energy is precious. This awareness creates an air of purpose and intention. Women are drawn to this because it communicates direction and stability. They are not looking for a man to rescue them or to fill a void. They are drawn to someone whose life already has meaning, whose presence adds value, whose energy is not wasted on fear, insecurity, or neediness. Depth also influences how a man communicates and interacts with the world. He listens with intent, speaks with meaning, and acts with intention. He does not overreact to minor setbacks because he has weathered greater storms. He does not become defensive because he has confronted criticism and rejection before. He can engage fully without being consumed by ego or insecurity. This is profoundly attractive because it creates safety and intrigue simultaneously. A woman feels seen, understood, and respected, and yet she also feels challenged because a man of depth is never predictable in a shallow way. He is complex, and complexity draws curiosity, admiration, and desire. Another aspect of depth is the capacity to hold space for others. When a man has navigated his own pain, when he has reflected on his own growth, he becomes capable of offering emotional stability and support without losing himself. He can be present without being overwhelmed. He can love without neediness. He can connect without control. This is not learned in books or taught in lectures. It is cultivated through lived experience and conscious reflection. Women recognize this as a rare quality because it is, in fact, rare. Many men avoid their own emotional work. They suppress, distract, or escape, but those who embrace it become anchors in a turbulent world. Depth is also intertwined with resilience. A man who has faced life's trials and survived has learned adaptability. He has learned to pivot, to adjust, to persevere without losing integrity. This resilience is magnetic because it signals that he can be trusted in both calm and chaos. Women do not consciously analyze this, they feel it. They feel the steadiness, the grounded energy, the assurance that comes from someone who has endured and learned to thrive despite adversity. Depth, then, is not simply knowledge or experience. It is wisdom made tangible in the way a man moves, speaks, and exists. It's important to understand that depth does not mean a man must have endured extreme trauma or hardship. Depth can come from reflection, from engagement with life, from a willingness to confront one's own shortcomings and learn from them. It is cultivated through self-awareness, honesty, and growth. A man who avoids these experiences will struggle to develop the richness that attracts naturally. Women are drawn to depth because it signals a man who has substance, who is real, who is capable of connection without pretense. To embody depth, a man must commit to life as a journey of growth. He must embrace failures as lessons, challenges as teachers, and reflection as a practice. He must cultivate self-awareness, confront weaknesses, and refine strengths. Depth requires courage, not the courage to fight others, but the courage to face oneself. It requires humility, because life always teaches and pride blinds. And it requires consistency, because attraction is sustained not by moments, but by ongoing presence and authenticity. When a man achieves this depth, he no longer needs to chase attention. He becomes magnetic because he exists fully. His presence communicates experience, resilience, understanding, and wisdom. Women are drawn to him not because he demands it, not because he performs or manipulates, but because the energy of depth resonates naturally. It is a pull that is felt before words, before actions, before context. Depth speaks louder than any line, any gesture, any superficial display. So here is the truth you must carry with you: life experience, when embraced consciously, becomes your silent magnetism. Your past struggles, your reflections, your growth, they are not burdens. They are the source of your presence, your allure, and your ability to connect on a level that is profound and lasting. Women are drawn to this because it signals maturity, stability, and authenticity, all qualities that cannot be taught, only lived. If you take one thing from this, let it be this: cultivate depth. Embrace life fully. Learn from your failures. Reflect on your experiences. Face your own darkness and rise above it. Because when you do, you become more than a man. You become a presence that draws people in naturally, effortlessly, and irreversibly. Depth is not optional. It is the foundation of attraction that transcends age, looks, or circumstance. And once you embody it, nothing else needs to be said. Let's talk about something that is often overlooked, but is absolutely critical when it comes to understanding attraction. Girls are deeply drawn to men who respect them, who maintain boundaries, and who do not compete unnecessarily. It is a truth that many men struggle to grasp because it goes against the instincts they have been conditioned to follow. Society tells men that they must dominate, they must always win, they must always prove themselves. But in reality, the men who attract naturally do not compete with women. They do not feel threatened by a woman's strength, intelligence, or independence. In fact, they embrace it. This is magnetic because it communicates confidence, emotional maturity, and security in a way that cannot be faked. To understand this, we need to explore human behavior. Competition is a survival instinct. It served us in contexts where resources were scarce and status determined access to life's necessities. But in the modern world, competition in relationships often manifests as insecurity. Younger men, especially, feel threatened by a woman's ambition, intelligence, or assertiveness. They interpret her confidence as a challenge to their own. They argue, they control, they dominate, not out of malice, but because they are seeking validation and reassurance that they are enough. Women can sense this subtle tension immediately. It undermines attraction because it communicates neediness, insecurity, and instability. The men who are magnetic understand this intuitively. They know that respect is more attractive than dominance. They listen more than they talk. They respond with curiosity rather than judgment. They do not try to prove their worth through arguments, displays, or ego. A woman senses this immediately because it communicates safety. She knows that with this man, she does not have to compete to be seen, heard, or valued. She does not have to diminish herself to elevate him. She is free to express her full self, and that freedom creates connection and desire. Boundaries are equally essential. They are not just rules or restrictions, they are a declaration of self-respect. A man who maintains boundaries demonstrates that he values his time, energy, and emotional resources. He does not allow everyone to dictate his mood or decisions. He chooses carefully who he invests in, how he communicates, and how he allows people into his life. This selective energy is magnetic because it signals that he is not available to everyone, that he is not easily swayed, and that his presence has weight. Women are drawn to this because it communicates value without words. Boundaries create structure, predictability, and security, qualities that are rare and deeply attractive. Consider the way these men interact in conversation. They do not interrupt to dominate. They do not over-explain or over-apologize. They listen attentively, respond thoughtfully, and allow space for others to express themselves. This is not passivity, it is authority. True authority does not need to assert itself constantly. It is calm, measured, and intentional. Women sense this presence because it contrasts sharply with the frantic energy of men who feel the need to prove themselves constantly. Authority combined with respect is magnetic because it communicates competence without aggression. Non-competition extends to emotional dynamics as well. A man who is secure does not feel the need to challenge a woman's emotions, choices, or independence. He does not react defensively when she expresses herself fully. He does not see her strength as a threat to his identity or ego. Instead, he supports, he aligns, and he encourages. This creates a sense of partnership rather than a struggle for dominance. Attraction thrives in partnership, not in conflict. Women are drawn to men who can meet them at their level without feeling the need to assert superiority because it communicates equality, mutual respect, and emotional intelligence. Philosophically, this principle speaks to a deeper truth about human connection. True attraction is not about control, it is about alignment. A man who competes unnecessarily creates friction, tension, and resistance. A man who embodies respect and maintains boundaries creates flow, ease, and resonance. Women are drawn to men who create a space in which they can be fully themselves. This does not mean a lack of challenge. It means the challenge comes from growth, exploration, and shared experience, not from ego battles or insecurity. The subtlety here is critical. Many men misunderstand non-competition as passivity or weakness. It is neither. It is strength refined by emotional intelligence. It is power expressed without force. It is influence exercised through presence and understanding rather than through argument or assertion. This is why some older men become effortlessly magnetic. They have learned that dominance and control are outdated signals, replaced by maturity, respect, and calm authority. Boundaries in particular are often misunderstood. They are not walls. They are frameworks for interaction. A man with boundaries communicates what he values, what he tolerates, and what he will not compromise. He does not allow others to drain his energy or manipulate his emotions. He is not harsh or rigid. He is consistent and intentional. Women sense this consistency and intentionality because it provides clarity. They know where they stand with him, which creates trust and deepens attraction. Consistency in boundaries signals integrity, reliability, and self-possession, all qualities that are rare, desired, and magnetic. Emotional non-competition is also intertwined with self-awareness. A man who respects a woman and maintains his boundaries is aware of his own triggers, insecurities, and patterns. He does not project his neediness onto others. He does not demand validation. He interacts from a place of understanding rather than reaction. This awareness creates a calm energy that is rare in a world full of emotional volatility. Women sense it immediately. They are drawn to it not because they think logically about it, but because it resonates with their subconscious desire for safety, stability, and mutual respect. This principle extends beyond relationships. It is a reflection of a man's relationship with himself. A man who competes unnecessarily with others or with women is often competing with his own self-image, trying to prove that he is enough. A man who respects others, maintains boundaries, and does not compete unnecessarily is at peace with himself. He is self-contained. He does not need to prove anything externally. His magnetism comes from this inner completeness. Presence, authenticity, and self-respect are more attractive than looks, status, or charm because they signal something far deeper: emotional competence and grounded strength. The world is full of men who misunderstand attraction. They believe that attention, validation, and dominance are the keys. But true attraction comes from emotional intelligence, respect, and non-competition. Women are drawn to men who hold their own space, who do not threaten theirs, who provide a framework of safety, stability, and authenticity. This is not manipulation or strategy. It is a natural consequence of maturity, experience, and self-possession. So if there is one insight you take from this, let it be this: cultivate respect, maintain boundaries, and abandon unnecessary competition. Stand firmly in your value. Celebrate the strength and independence of others without fear. Let your presence communicate your worth without the need to assert it constantly. When you embody this, you become magnetic, not through performance, but through essence. The energy you radiate is noticed immediately, felt deeply, and appreciated profoundly. Remember this: attraction is not a battle to be won. It is a resonance to be cultivated. Respect, boundaries, and non-competition are the silent languages that communicate security, depth, and strength. Women are drawn to these qualities because they reflect a man who has mastered himself. And once you master this, you will find that connection, attention, and desire flow naturally, effortlessly, and irreversibly. Now we come to a truth that most people never fully grasp, yet it is one of the most powerful forces behind lasting attraction. Girls are drawn to men who are constantly evolving, who are still becoming, who refuse to stagnate. This is different from chasing success, wealth, or superficial accomplishments. Evolution in this context is about growth on every level: emotional, intellectual, psychological, and even spiritual. It is about the conscious pursuit of becoming a better version of oneself every day, and it is magnetic because it signals vitality, purpose, and depth. Women feel this energy even before a word is spoken. It is a presence that communicates: I am not static. I am alive. I am becoming. The world tells men to settle, to achieve a milestone, and then rest on it. Society often frames success as a destination, a point where you are enough. But this is a trap. Life is not a fixed point. It is a journey. Men who understand this, who dedicate themselves to growth and learning throughout life, carry a dynamic energy that is impossible to ignore. Women are drawn to this energy because it reflects vitality and engagement with life. It signals that this man is capable of contributing something meaningful, not just to the world, but to the relationship itself. Think about it psychologically. Stagnation, in contrast, communicates complacency. When a man stops growing, his energy becomes predictable, his presence flat, and his interactions routine. There is no spark, no intrigue, no challenge. Women may admire stability, but they are deeply attracted to growth. They are drawn to a man whose life is expanding, whose knowledge deepens, whose understanding of himself and the world is constantly refined. Growth communicates potential, resilience, and adaptability, all qualities that are inherently attractive because they promise a life of shared exploration and depth. Evolution is also tied to self-awareness. A man who is still becoming recognizes that he does not have all the answers. He understands his strengths and weaknesses, and he actively works on both. He does not rely on ego to mask flaws. Instead, he uses challenges as opportunities for learning. This is profoundly attractive because it signals humility, wisdom, and courage. The courage to face oneself honestly, to confront mistakes, and to continue striving toward improvement. Women sense this courage instinctively. They feel drawn to men who embrace growth rather than cling to illusion because it mirrors a higher level of emotional intelligence and integrity. There is a philosophical layer to this as well. Growth is not linear. It is messy, unpredictable, and sometimes uncomfortable. But a man who embraces this reality demonstrates resilience and flexibility. He does not fear change, he welcomes it. He does not resist discomfort, he uses it as a tool for transformation. This adaptability communicates power without arrogance, competence without aggression. Women are drawn to men who can navigate life's uncertainties with grace and clarity because it signals stability in chaos. A quality that is rare, deeply reassuring and magnetic. Evolving men also create curiosity and intrigue. When a man is static, he is predictable. There is little to discover, but a man who is growing invites exploration. He has new ideas, perspectives, and experiences to share. His worldview expands, and he invites others to expand with him. This creates a natural pull because women are not just attracted to what a man has, they are drawn to what he is becoming. Evolution signals an ongoing journey of discovery, and humans are naturally drawn to those who are expanding rather than contracting. Another critical aspect of evolution is self-mastery. A man who is still becoming demonstrates control over his mind, emotions, and actions. He is not perfect. Perfection is neither realistic nor attractive, but he is intentional. He chooses his habits, relationships, and focus with purpose. This intentionality communicates discipline, foresight, and responsibility, all of which are inherently attractive because they signal reliability and trustworthiness. Women are drawn to men who are intentional in their lives because it reflects a higher level of agency and competence. A man who can create, protect, and sustain value in the world and in relationships. Growth also impacts how a man handles relationships. A man who is evolving does not rely on a partner to complete him. He does not seek validation or reassurance from external sources. He brings his whole self into connection, offering presence, support, and engagement because he chooses to, not because he needs to. This creates a powerful dynamic of mutual respect and attraction. Women sense when a man is whole and evolving, and this inspires desire because it reflects emotional maturity and freedom. A relationship with such a man is not a crutch. It is an invitation to share in growth and exploration. Let's also consider the element of legacy. Evolution is not only about the present, it is about impact. A man who is continuously growing thinks beyond immediate gratification. He invests in his knowledge, skills, and relationships with a long-term perspective. He leaves impressions, inspires others, and contributes meaningfully to the world. Women are drawn to men who carry this vision because it signals purpose and direction. It communicates that life with him will not be static or mundane. It will be a journey, a partnership, an experience of mutual expansion. There is a subtle but profound point here. Evolution is deeply linked to authenticity. A man who is still becoming is true to himself, not performing for approval or validation. His growth is intrinsic, driven by internal motivation rather than external pressure. This authenticity is magnetic because it communicates trustworthiness and integrity. Women sense the difference between a man who grows for appearance and a man who grows because it is an expression of his being. The former is superficial, The latter is irresistible. To embody evolution, a man must embrace curiosity, reflection, and intentional action. He must confront his weaknesses, refine his strengths, and remain open to learning. He must challenge himself, step into discomfort, and pursue growth relentlessly. Evolution is not passive, it requires active engagement with life. The men who embody this principle attract naturally because they are alive in a way that is palpable, inspiring, and compelling. Ultimately, the energy of evolution cannot be faked or forced. It is an internal state that radiates outward. Women are drawn to men who demonstrate growth because it signals vitality, depth, emotional intelligence, and purpose. It creates intrigue, admiration, and desire because it communicates that life with this man will be dynamic, enriching, and profound. Evolution is the secret magnetism that cannot be taught, only lived. So if there is one insight you take from this, let it be this: never stop becoming. Do not settle for comfort, stagnation, or external validation. Embrace growth in every dimension of your life, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, and face challenges. Reflect deeply, and refine yourself constantly. Because when you embody evolution, you become a man who draws others not through effort or performance, but through essence, energy, and presence. Growth is magnetic, and once you commit to it fully, attraction becomes effortless, relationships become meaningful, and your life becomes a reflection of your highest potential. Remember this: a man who is still becoming is never irrelevant. His presence is alive, his energy is compelling, and his path is always forward. Embrace evolution and watch how the world, and the women in it, respond, not because you chase, but because you radiate the power of continual transformation.